70. South Park Tower Defense. It saddens me a little to talk about this one, as I currently cannot play it. When I was able to, me and my best friends had a great time with it. The plot sees you playing as many of the South Park kids as you defend your town from a seemingly endless swarm of enemies that have appeared on the show, from the homeless, to crab people, to the super serial Man-Bear Pig. Each of the characters has their own special attack that can drastically change the tactics you use for every level. You'll also have the environmental traps to be aware of, but primarily, your main method of defense will be to build towers with various capabilities, and digging out snow paths for enemies to follow as you literally create your own path of death for them. The cast of the show is in the cutscenes, but if you were expecting the edgy and offensive humour the show is known for, you'll be somewhat disappointed. It's a lot more tame, and while you can unlock clips from the show to watch, these are also of the nicer moments of the show. Despite that, you'll still have a lot of fun and laughs from what the game provides, and I am crossing my fingers, legs, arms and eyes that this will get a sequel, or at the very least, a remake for the modern consoles. '69. Charlie Murder. Have you ever wanted to use the power of violence and punk rock to fight your way out of hell and stop the apocalypse? If the answer is yes, that's badass. And you can fulfill that fantasy with up to 4 friends. You play as one of the 5 members of the Charlie Murder Band. Each character has their own capabilities and skills to support the team and stomp the shit out of your enemies while tearing them apart with an arseful of arsenal. Teamwork is important as you'll need all the help you can get to fight every horror monster you can think of. Zombies, witches, ghosts, mass serial killers, zombie ninjas, Bigfoot Megazord. There's no shortage of things to fight, and the variety of foes is as vast as the size of the world, and the number of chaotic situations you'll find yourself in. Of course, just because it's the end of the world doesn't mean there isn't time for punk rock music and looking good. You can find lots of gear to pick up during the game which will improve your stats and potentially give you new skills. The gear can also be customized with dyes and quote-unquote mimic blood to change the look however you want. If you're a fan of Castle Crashers, Charlie Murder is a more gory and surreal take on the beat-em-up genre. I highly recommend this one for Adult Swim fans and fun-loving fighters. '68. Star Wars Battlefront 2. After trying out the embarrassing remake, it made me want to play the original even more, back when it wasn't full of shitty practices from a developer who wasn't a complete douchebag yet. The game puts you in the position of a single soldier on some of the most famous battlefields in the Star Wars canon. Kashyyyk, Hoth, Kamino, Endor where the Wookiees live,
Wookiees don't live on Endor!
and many more. Covering the eras of the original and prequel trilogy, you can play as both the light or dark side as you battle to assert dominance in modes ranging from space battles to capture the pretty lights. You'll also gain access to numerous soldiers, heroes, vehicles and weapons to use as you assemble a squad and dive balls deep into the action. If you prefer to be a bit more strategic in your gameplay, then you can play through the story mode as a member of the 501st Clone Squad or in a turn-based galaxy domination to make every planet united by love or fear. My only real issue is that the AI is a bit stupid, which works both for and against me. But I'd rather have dumb AI than be dumb enough to feed EA through greedy microtransactions. Arseholes. 67. The Simpsons Road Rage. Crossovers are risky business, but Road Rage is one of the ones that paid off, and the makers of The Simpsons pulled it off more than once. Their first success was by combining The Simpsons with Crazy Taxi to get a hectic and enjoyably silly time. Starring the cast of The Simpsons as they play a ton of their famous alter egos, you can save Springfield from Mr. Burns' nuclear-powered buses by destroying it yourself and raising the funds to stop his plan in its tracks. The addicting gameplay makes you want to find the best routes and tricks to maximise your profits to the point where the game has to force itself to push the next unlock milestone back to stop you unlocking everything too fast, which I hold as a badge of honour. Look, I haven't achieved much in life, let me have this. It's a good time full of laughs and madness, and I'm always up for playing it. I just wish there was more to it apart from the challenge mode, but even with that, it is a small game which could be completed in an afternoon. But it still offers a lot of fun regardless.
Get ready for some big willies!
66. Spider-Man. Webhead is one of Marvel's most successful moneymakers in the comic industry, and when it comes to video games, he starred in most of Marvel's video games, as either a playable character or the main hero. My first experience with Spider-Man's games was the PS1 title. It's a really well put together game that captures the character of Spider-Man in both personality and capability very well, as he struggles with just a really bad day. Of course, by today's standards, it looks just as incompetent as Marvel's most recent comics, but back then, this was some highly advanced stuff. The swinging is competent, the combat is simple and efficient, you can manipulate your web powers, there's a bunch of unlockable costumes, and cameos from characters to make your inner nerd go, "Hey!" As well as some well-designed and created levels akin to the nature of comics. It's a nice blast to the past, and although I can see some problems with it now, it's still a title that can hold its own today. "65. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Movie games are often overlooked or looked down on because of their cheap and rushed cash grab nature, often suffering from problems such as nonsensical deviations from the film or an uninspired sequel/prequel to said film. There are, however, a few diamonds in this rough area, and to me, Return of the King is one of them. The hack and slash game follows the events of the film, which have been split into 3 different paths. The Hobbit path, where you play as Sam escorting Frodo to Mount Doom, the King path, where you play as the 3 sexiest men of the series to amass an army, and the Wizard path, where you play as Gandalf McKellen, amassing his own army to try and outshine Aragorn. Each path will take you all across Middle-earth with fantastic and well-designed levels, each one feeling unique and fun to play, with a guarantee that you will have a few favourite levels to play through and grind your way to max level. Or at least once you complete the game, when you can actually access those levels again and play them with any character. The combat is great. A little clunky, but it's accurate, responsive and effective against the foes you will face. You have a lot of attacks to unleash on your enemies, including several insta-kill moves, and the better you fight, the more XP you earn to learn more moves and increase your skills. The game is also fully co-op, so you can gather your own fellowship and band together to become a force stronger than 10,000 at least. That's a Lord of the Rings quote, right? 64. Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 and 2. The more modern Phantasy Star series has been a pleasure to enjoy. I'm showing my age now, but I remember spending hours upon hours playing the online demo for Phantasy Star Universe, and loving every second of it. If only I could have enjoyed the same thing way back when I was a GameCube player. Well, now thanks to fan service, I can, but more on that in a future video. While it was designed for online play, the single-player game is just as involving as you create your character from a select few races and classes and go on a journey to find the hero known as Red Ring Rico. Each of the classes as well as races have capabilities to suit your playstyle. A trap-laying gunman, a close-quarters anime protagonist, or a fabulous wizard. Be whatever you feel like you want to be. As you play, you'll take on jobs to gain money and experience to level up to take on tougher challenges and bosses across different biomes while you loot new gear. The offline mode does also feature a co-op, but sadly, at best, this could be described as a dungeon dive. You couldn't play story missions or side missions during the split screen, but it was still fun destroying wildlife with a friend for the sake of personal gain. 63. Batman: Rise of Sin Tzu. Just like how Spider-Man has starred in most Marvel games, Batman holds that title for DC games. And just like Spidey, some of them are fantastic, a few of them are bad, and the rest range from average to good. One of the good ones for me was this beat-em-up based on the animated series, even starring some of the voice actors like Ron Perlman, Lauren Lester, and the late Kevin Conroy. You and a friend can choose to play as Batman or one of his collected children and put several henchmen in hospital because remember, Batman doesn't kill, but life-changing and career-ending injuries are fine. Your lust for violence will pay off as the points you earn can be used to increase your strength, get new gadgets, and expand your moveset so you can injure more people in a lot more vicious ways. The look of the show has been perfectly captured and masterfully transferred into 3D. The levels are huge and offer a lot in terms of both look and content, while offering you different objectives that will challenge you in every section of the level. And the enemies admittedly get a little repetitive, but it's always satisfying beating the shit out of them. Many of the iconic villains will also appear to offer up battles, of which you will need to figure out the strategy in order to achieve dominance over them. It's an underrated gem and I highly recommend this one to anyone who gets the chance. 62. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I like games where you work as a team. I've played a bunch of them, but this one was easily one of the best experiences I've ever had. A huge roster of Marvel's much-loved heroes allowed you to create your own dream team and take on Doctor Doom and foil his cartoonishly evil plot. Each character has their own powers, voice lines and unlockable costumes, which can be improved with in-game currency or by leveling up while equipping gear. As you travel the world to many familiar locations, enemies from all over the Marvel lore will stand in your way to cause a problem. A problem best solved with violence. The levels are involving with secrets to find and memorable moments that are bound to make a lasting impression on you. What's even better is that this was back in the day where unlockables were a thing and extra characters like Blade are hidden in the game for you to save and play as. It has a decent length to it and is littered with Easter eggs and cinematic moments that even the most casual Marvel fan will enjoy. If you can, definitely play it with 4 players for a great geek out session. 61. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. When a series famous for sticking to one formula and making it work decides to mix it up and try a new format, it's a risky maneuver that doesn't always work. NetherRealms tried and failed more than once, but eventually got it right and made one hell of a good time. The game starts at the end of Mortal Kombat 1, then moves into the events of Mortal Kombat 2. This solo or co-op journey where you play as either Liu Kang or Kung Lao as you platform and fight your way through the Earth and Outworld realms to defeat Shang Tsung and his minions is definitely an experience you don't want to miss out on. Everything about the gameplay just screams Mortal Kombat. The sound effects, the solid responsive controls, the cheesy acting, the platforming skills, the moves, environmental kills, blood and gore, and of course the iconic fatalities that you do need to figure out by putting in button combos until you discover one. Shaolin Monks perfectly combines the beat 'em up and platform elements, creating a unique game that is fun all the way through while still feeling like a Mortal Kombat game. A very impressive feat to be sure. It isn't just a poorly made adventure game with a thin layer of MK slapped on top. It's a shame that the cliffhanger ending never went anywhere. Thanks, Ed.